Hello there, my name is Davis, and this is the Keynote. In this edition of the Keynote, my intent is to invite you to question your perspective to the concept of work, to ask you, why do you work? And share a context that I hope will help you have a richer, better, and happier life at work. So let's get started. Why do we work? Or should I ask you, why do you work? Do you do it because it's simply how society is designed? Because it is that thing that everyone does between, education and retirement? Or do you do it for financial sustenance, seeing that work is the responsible thing to do if we really want to make money? Or for you, is it about the sheer mental gratification that you get from work? That feel good factor that makes you feel like you're doing something important? Well, these are good reasons, but I think there's something more compelling. And there are a couple of things I want you to consider. You might know this and you might not know. But about 45% of our lives, our identity, our personality, our being is defined by the work we do. Oftentimes, when we introduce ourselves, we talk about what our name is and what it is that we do. It's a huge part of our identity. Secondly, about 40% of the relationships we will have and the people we will know in our lifetime are relationships that would originate from work. Now, knowing these two things, I strongly believe that the real purpose of work is to consistently create value by doing meaningful work and building meaningful relationships. But what do this mean? What am I going on about? Well, let's dive first into the concept of meaningful work because it is a concept that I believe would help us adopt a deeper and collectively rewarding approach to work. So, what does it mean to do meaningful work? To do meaningful work is to work because it matters. And I want you to begin to pay deeper attention here. To work because it matters, not just because it's the brief. To adopt a value add perspective as opposed to a task perspective. That's what it means. To do meaningful work is to work to solve problems, to actually contribute to solving problems and creating change, not just whiling away time because you're contracted to be available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. To do meaningful work is to work for the Commonwealth. And I do not mean the Commonwealth of Nations. I mean to work with the knowledge and understanding that your input contributes to the collective success of everyone. That is what I think it means to do meaningful work. But that's not all. How about meaningful relationships? We work with people. How do we enrich our experiences with the people that we work with? Well, I have found that meaningful relationships happen at work when we allow our interactions to be governed by the fact that we all want the same thing, regardless of our differences, regardless of our ideas and ideologies, regardless of the different paths that we think is right in order to get the result. At the end of the day, we are all in the same boat and we all want the same thing. I believe that meaningful relationships happen when collectively we embrace a culture that is entrenched in values and processes. I actually believe that meaningful relationships would begin when you understand that you're going to be spending a huge chunk of your life with your colleagues. And since you're going to be spending that time anyways, you might as well make it a healthy and happy time for everyone. That, my friends, is what I think it means to have meaningful relationships at work. So, now that you have this new perspective about how work is only really truly about creating value through meaningful work and meaningful relationships, what actions must you take? What should you begin to do? Well, I've got five of those things that I like to recommend. The first is that you take ownership. If you want your work to be meaningful, if you want to build meaningful relationships, it is you who will kickstart the process. And I know that it takes more than one person to make it work, but I also know that all it takes to get started is one person, and that person is you. Secondly, once you decide that you want to lead that process, then you need to begin with yourself. You need to invest a consistent piece of your daily allotment of 24 hours into understanding yourself, improving yourself, and mastering yourself because you cannot give what you do not have. Once you've mastered yourself, then the third piece is that you begin to cultivate friendships at work. Now, emphasis is on the word cultivate. It takes time. Cultivate relationships at work, but then let those relationships and friendships be governed. And this is important. Let them be governed by the shared objectives of the workplace and a shared culture of excellence. Thereafter, you must embrace, personally and collectively, a culture of stewardship. You see, this is one that I particularly love because the concept of stewardship is this very idea that we all have to be accountable for everything. This idea that we must be accountable for everything, even the things that you call your own. Being accountable to yourself, to your colleagues, and to the stakeholders that are connected to you. Being accountable for time, for assets, for resources, for projects, and for results. Having done all of these things, then you need to cap it all off by ensuring that you serve your genius, by daily, relentlessly, and consistently serving this new version of you. This genius version of you that leads the process of making work a richer, better, and happier experience for everyone. In summary, I really believe that to enjoy the work part of our lives, we all must focus on doing meaningful work and building meaningful relationships. And to do this, we must take ownership, we must master ourselves, we must govern our friendships, we must embrace stewardship, and we must serve our genius to the world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to make work more meaningful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the keynote for this week. Thank you for watching this, and thank you for sharing it as well. My name is Davis Okelwo, and it has been my palm-pleasing pleasure to bring you this piece of value. Before you go, however, I'll leave this parting thought with you. Remember, it is not what you have learned that matters. It is what you do with what you learned. For only doing makes the difference. Have a beautiful week ahead. Cheers.